This is Robert Martellacci, the Mindshare Learning Report, Canada's learning and technology e-magazine, coming to you with another inspiring conversation at the intersection of education, innovation, and leadership. Today, I'm thrilled to have join me Dhiraj Hariramani, a true education changemaker and multi-talented leader. He's the CEO of LearnIt, and who participated in our Startup Challenge this past fall at the University of Toronto, Scarborough, and he's on a mission to make learning more practical and engaging. He's also a consultant at Accenture, a public speaker, podcast host, and an educator who has impacted over 10,000 learners around the world. Dhiraj brings a fascinating blend of business acumen and educational passion with a career journey that's taken him from teaching in Uganda to working with Labatt. I want to hear that story. Scotiabank and now Accenture, while leading the LearnIt podcast that explores the future of learning. Dhiraj, welcome to MindShareTV. It's great to have you here.
Robert, it's a pleasure. Thanks for making the space and time for me.
Well, let's dive in. What a career journey. It's truly unique, and I'm always fascinated by that. I was a sport information director in my previous life, working on the Olympic torch relay that I'll share another day. But from an investment banking perspective, which my twins are in that space, you had aspirations to teaching and now driving innovation in education. What pivotal moment or insight inspired you to take this path and eventually build LearnIt?
Yeah, Robert, I've been, growing up in a space like Uganda. I started teaching when I was 12, right? And that was pure just volunteer. So I was one of those kids who, when I was in high school, I used to volunteer and go teach the kindergarten kids. The truth be told, there's a bit of naivety because I didn't really understand how much I loved it until I stopped doing it and I missed it. And I started doing that at a very early age because it gave me a lot of purpose. But at the same time, teaching wasn't a career that was very popular or well known to me in Africa. It was a career that was seen very differently. And so when I left Uganda to come to Canada, I decided to pursue my degree as in commerce. And at the time when I went to UBC at Sauder, I decided to go with finance because
great school, by the way.
Yeah, great, wonderful school, wonderful people, beautiful mountains, more mountains than buildings. I said, you know what, I'll do finance because I'm good with numbers and it comes naturally to me. And so I did a gig at Scotiabank, and then I realized that finance wasn't for me. So, then came my calling for education. I spent probably my last 3 years at UBC being a teaching assistant and mentoring students. I broke records at UBC of I was a teaching assistant for 12 courses, which was the most by any undergrad in the history of UBC. I did it on co-op. I did it on my internship. I taught doctors. I taught people from the army. I taught them finance. I taught them really basic business concepts. And there was something in my heart that just said, you know what, I think you're destined to do something in education. And so that's where LearnIt was born out of. So that was the start of the journey.
Brilliant. You often talk about designing learning experience beyond the classroom. Can you share what makes a truly impactful learning experience in today's world, especially for students preparing for the future work? I'm in a co-working innovation center here that we launched some years ago, and we have co-op students here all the time. So I really appreciate the value of hands-on learning, project-based learning, if you will. Talk to me about your perspective on this.
Yeah, I love that, Robert. I think the biggest thing is sometimes we overcomplicate this and we try and find a huge formula to helping kids get these learning experiences. I think there's really 3 things that make a difference in a student's life. The first being a teacher's curiosity around who the kids are. I think the simple action of understanding who you're teaching, let's say you got a kid and you know that their eyes light up when you talk about aviation. Even if you're teaching a topic around finances, if you even add in a little bit of a sparkle of aviation, that kid's attention is going to come back to you. And I think the first thing that I have noticed are common across magnificent teachers in this country is the genuine curiosity to learn more about the kids they teach. I think that is the first we got to take is who are we teaching, and what do they care about, and why do they want to be there? So when I say learning experiences, I think that's the first step before we even jump into creating these magical experiences. The second thing is that I have noticed, and I don't claim to be an expert by any means. What I try and say to myself is my responsibility as an educator is to make sure that I help these students learn skills that will set them up for success when they step out of the classroom. That is my purpose in my life. And so I say, you know what? I think if teachers want to start doing that as well, which a lot of them do to their credit, is having the genuine, thing like, okay, what is going on in the industry? What are they looking for in the world out there? Right? And how can I just make sure in the smallest ways possible that I am helping my kids get one step closer to them? And that's the, just that thing that says, what does the industry want? Whether it's critical thinking, whether it is negotiation, whether it is leadership, and doing it in the most simple ways possible. Right? It doesn't need to be overly complicated. It could be something as simple as every week you have a different theme. This week's theme is all about negotiation. So whenever we're in class, we're thinking like negotiators. We're doing exercises around negotiation. That helps kids learn very, very actively. And then the last thing is just have fun. And I think that, I don't blame teachers, to be very transparent with you, because I think it is an
Mhm.
extremely difficult job. I would not say it's an easy job. I think it's a difficult job. It's a work of heart. But I do feel like the teachers that take a little bit of risk, that say, you know what, I'm going to try this out. And I'm not sure if it's going to work, but I'm going to try it out. They tend to experiment and find things that do magical things for their students. And just having the mindset of trying new things, we do that at our company too. And some of them, sometimes they don't work. I'd say half of the time they don't work. But the other half of the times where they do work, they're pretty exceptional.
Brilliantly said. You're also an Accenture consultant working on complex business challenges. How do your experience in corporate strategy inform how you approach education and learning design? I think it's a brilliant opportunity for innovation and relatability. Right, the best
Mhm.
educators I know, the most successful educators and leaders in education actually have done
Right. I, Apologies, I just lost you there for a second, Robert. I think you went on mute. But I think your question was around being at Accenture, and really what that has done for me, which
right.
honestly, an understatement would be helping me learn really what does complex transformation look like. And when I say the word complex, I don't think I knew what that meant until I started working with our clients at Accenture. And what that shows me is that, one, it builds a lot of confidence to say, okay, this is, if there's a huge transformation a company is going through of $500 million, what does that look? How do you even do that? How do you bring that to life? And I think that we're at a point in education where we're making a lot of shifts and changes with technology, and there are going to be huge transformations at school boards, at schools. And I think the what Accenture has given me is, one, an appreciation for how to deliver and execute on that level of complexity. And what does that even look like, and how does that become successful? And it's it's helped me really, really come to terms with the fact that at the end of the day, every business, every corner is run by humans. Right. And at the end of the day, we have to work together to find what that end state's going to be and work together on that. And so Accenture has given me an opportunity I don't think I could have got anywhere else, where I'm looking at transformations and working on them that are, really genuinely going to change industries for a long time.
Absolutely. And I love that you embrace the human stories behind your journey, like cold calling and schools in Ontario or landing an internship or over a beer. How does unplanned moments shape your leadership style and approach to innovation? And really, education is very much relationship based, as businesses too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have the saying, Robert, that I share with the kids too, right? I say, look, you've got an idea over here, right? You want to be successful over here, right? Do you know how to cross this bridge? It's not about how well you speak or how handsome you look. It is, and I literally say this. I say this bridge over here is what I call being cringe, and doing things that people wouldn't necessarily think to do. Me, when I started in my journey in education, I wanted to learn so much from principals, so much. But they're busy. and they've got so much on their plate. And so I would sit there and I would time the call to be just at the start of the school day, because I knew right when the school started, they hadn't yet got loaded on with all the work. So I'd give them a call and say, have you got 10 minutes? I just want to learn something, just 10 minutes of your time. And I sat there in a cafe every day in Halifax, and I went number by number. And a lot of times people put the phone down on me. And I was, it's fine, no problem. I'll pick up the next one. And I keep going, right? And I always tell students that, like, me getting an internship at Labatt, I was doing a chat with the head of e-commerce at the company. He shows up 25 minutes late to a 30-minute call. I say there's two things I could do. I could be mad about it and be like, there's no respect for my time, yada, yada, yada. Or I could give him the best 5 minutes he's ever got. And I tried to do that. And I said, I tried to have such a wonderful conversation about the future of e-commerce in the beverage industry that was so thoughtful in those 5 minutes that the next day I got an email offering me a job. That was it. And I think it's these moments where we always question, like, oh, can I do this? Or what would they think of me? Or what would others think of me? That always prevent us from taking one step forward. And I genuinely think the reason I am where I am even today, which is not where I even want to be, I think there's a long way to go, but it's because I was just willing to do things that no one was willing to do. I was willing to be a little bit cringe. And I think that's genuinely what I tell students as well.
Oh, great advice. And, it's, you have to prove your value, right? And you have, the more skills you garner, and everything from, when our co-op students come in, they see me sweeping the floor. If I see something on the floor, I pick it up. We're not
Right.
4.9 out of 5 on Google because we don't care. Like, and how many times I've told our co-op students that, and you have to cover all the bases, and it's not always elegant, right? You got to,
Right.
not everything's fun. That you need
Absolutely.
to, it's the devil's in the details, right? And so many educators and ed tech leaders in our audience are trying to bridge the gap between school and real world skills. What advice would you give them to help make learning more authentic and connected to the real world students will enter in an AI inspired world? I have to say, because we haven't talked about AI, but I'm going to finesse that in.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question, Robert. And it's because, the more that I look at it, even in my personal life, the way that I'm using AI, the way that everyone else around me is using AI, I think one, it's becoming sort of like your personal assistant, right? That's what it initially is becoming as. It's your personal assistant. I think the importance of someone's ability to build relationships or someone's ability to have a conversation, those skills are going to become exponentially important in a world that's governed by AI. And I genuinely believe that. Because in a world where, if you imagine like even a pessimistic view 20 years from now, everything's run by AI, people as humans, we're going to crave that human interaction. We're going to miss it. And we're going to say, you know what, if I am giving you an assignment written by AI and you're responding to the assignment by AI, who's really doing any work? Right? And so those skills of critical thinking, of problem solving, that is what companies in the future are going to look for. And that I have a lot of confidence in, because it's something I've heard a lot from the industry. I think if schools, leaders in education want to bridge that gap, I think there's two things that come to mind. The first is that I believe that it's going to come through partnerships. And it's going to come through partnerships either with community partners, it's going to come with partnerships with companies, with universities. It's going to be partnership based. I think if a school embarks on a journey to try and solve this question on their own, it's going to be extremely challenging for them to do so. Not because they cannot, but because the world is so big around this real world skills. So I think there's tapping on partner shoulders, and even like industry partners and corporate companies who are happy to help, tapping on their shoulders to say, hey, we've got a group of kids, they want to learn more about XYZ. Can you teach them something for a day? I think that it's something as simple as that, and those partnerships can go a long way in helping us bridge that gap. And I think the second thing is not giving the pressure to the teachers to say, hey, it's your responsibility to teach the kids real world skills. I think rather than doing that, focusing a little bit more on how can we give PD sessions to our teachers and principals? How can we better help them so that they can help our students? How do we make sure that they're in a position where they know these tactical things that they could do to further help students find success in the future. So I think those two things will be extremely important as we move towards, whatever we might call an AI future world.
Well said. No, absolutely. And so finally, with all the work at LearnIt, Accenture, your podcast, your public speaking, what's next for you? You're a young man. What new projects or big ideas are you most passionate about and pursuing in this coming year?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking, Robert. I mean, you say I'm young, but I'm getting white hair, and I don't know if it's education or it's something else, but
Perhaps.
maybe it's the industry. It's giving me a bit of stress. But jokes aside, I think one thing that I really feel so deeply about is the more I've been doing this, the more fire I feel inside me to give kids in high school opportunities that they would never imagine. And I mean that so genuinely. I think I work day and night to make connections with industry partners to then give these kids experiences, because I know it's something that teachers struggle to do because they don't have the time. And my job is saying, you know what, I'm going to give you experiences that even university students don't get. We're going to simulation centers for surgeons. We're going to Google, Microsoft, Shopify. I am trying to crack the biggest names. And the thing is, I know it's one of my strengths, and I just want to make sure kids get these opportunities in different industries to really genuinely experience something special, something different, something that inspires them for years to come. So that is something that I am really excited about. I mean, the podcast is on fire, so I am even more excited about that with the guests that we're bringing on. I proposed to someone that how crazy can we get with the podcast? Should we eat like hot wings and the wings get progressively hot as I ask you questions? And most people said no to me, so I threw that out of the barn. But I'm super excited for the growth of the podcast as well as the work we're doing at LearnIt. So it's something that I'm very grateful that, one, educators believe in me, they trust me, they come to me with their challenges, and two, industry partners also trust me to make that connection. So I'm just trying to be the bridge between the two worlds and give kids experiences that they won't forget.
Brilliant. And it's about passion. And I love your passion and the fire in your belly. And, I'm a first generation Canadian. My family's from Italy. And I see it in, we're the most diverse community in Canada here in Air Mills Town Center. I always said diversity is our strength. We had a Thrive Thursday feast yesterday. People from all over the world that are here working, dropping in, and diversity is our strength in immigrants, in cross-sector businesses, and collaboration and partnership that you alluded to is very vital to help sustain learning and make an impact. It's never been a more exciting time to be in education today. But how do you inspire kids with that passion and that fire in your belly to embrace opportunities of entrepreneurship? Is it a teachable skill, or is it nature versus nurture? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, very interesting question. I think one of the things that I have changed my mind on recently, even in relation to that, is saying that, you know what, entrepreneurship is it's a very flowery term. It's something that people think is the coolest thing in the world, right? Which there's a lot of pros and cons, but I think having the appreciation that not every student wants to be an entrepreneur. And I think I always thought that who wouldn't? It's so cool.
Right.
It's so fun. But having this, this thought that says, what do you really want to do? And if that is being in skilled trades, or that is being an entrepreneur, or that is being a doctor, everyone has so many different paths that they want to take. And I think that these kids are incredibly intelligent and they draw inspiration from people they relate to. So if I go and talk to a group of students who want to be surgeons, no matter how good of a public speaker I am, they would always connect more with surgeon because they feel a natural source of inspiration. If I connect with a group of kids who want to be entrepreneurs, I can feed them that inspiration that drives me. And so I find that the secret behind inspiration is just who are you putting in front of them? And if you're putting the right people in front of them, where they want to see themselves there in 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, you don't have to convince them to be inspired. Their eyes are already open because they want it bad enough. right? And I think that, it's one of those things that I'm trying to be more mindful of, is saying I can't inspire everyone, and nor should I, right? Nor should I be the inspiration for every single kid. Sometimes someone else should be the inspiration, right?
Absolutely.
And it's like, who can you find that matches that kid's interests to feed them that inspiration? That's the way that I think about it.
Yeah, well said. And we talked off air in our warm up chat about Skills Ontario and the event that we were
Mm,
recently at, being the largest tech conference in education in Canada.
right.
Some 40,000 delegates, students, teachers, parents, looking to explore and discover, compete, everything from cybersecurity to game design to robotics to
Absolutely.
culinary and hairdressing, and machine shop. Like I did technical when I was in grade 9 and 10. Every student should experience that.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law is an aerospace engineer. I sponsor a first robotics team, and I got to tour MHC, the that builds the Challenger jet,
Mhm.
where they had their celebration last year. If I saw that growing up as a kid, toured
Mhm.
the facility where they built the fuselage and the wings, and they don't normally do that. It was a very private jet.
Right.
Incredible. We took photos, we couldn't share them. Incredible inspiration. And my
Right.
brother-in-law was inspired, and he's with another aeronautics company, and fascinating. He said, we'd never tour
You
kids
never get
around
to do it.
like this, right? This super confidential private, but it was so cool. And so kids, when you give kids agency and let them
Mhm.
explore, and project-based hands-on learning, which you really
Yeah.
embrace, what are the possibilities?
Absolutely. And I think I think that's where they have fun. Most importantly,
Right.
that's where they want to learn,
When you're
right?
having fun, we have a lot of fun in our workspace here, and I want you to come and visit and spend time here as my guest
Absolutely.
sometime, as a coworker, and you'll discover it's about community, it's about passion and connection, and in an AI inspired world. Talk to me about your favorite AI tool. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, what
Oh,
is your favorite AI tool that you can't do without?
I have been using too much, I would say, of Perplexity. And I used to be a Chat GPT and sort of GPT person, but now I think I spend more time on Perplexity right now, and that might change if you ask me this
Wow.
question a
Okay.
week later. But I think it just has a lot more depth in terms of the type of research it pulls, for me, at least in my use cases, in terms of how I like to use it in the applications that I use it for. So I'm a lover for Perplexity, and I use a lot of. I mean, even at our company, we use a lot of AI tools for
Right.
our UI UX design, for our podcasts. Even I think there's so much that goes behind it, and one of the secrets that I'll share is that even in our events, when we look to create what we call magical moments for students, we use AI to help us create these magical moments because it
Right.
opens up so many opportunities for us to really inspire the kids. And so right now, I'd say Perplexity from a utility perspective and how it makes me more productive. But we use
Yeah.
so many more in our company as well.
Well, with that, Dhiraj, I want to thank you for your time and your inspiration this afternoon. I'm just sharing out that we're thrilled to be hosting our 16th Canadian EdTech Leadership Summit that you presented at, and I hope to have you back again. The focus is human-centered sustainable learning in an AI-inspired world, in partnership with the University of Toronto, Peel District School Board, and our awesome diamond sponsor, Nelson Education. There you can grab the QR code to learn more. And I just want to, Dhiraj, it's been a fascinating conversation. Uh, you embody exactly the kind of innovative mindset we'd love to feature on MindShareTV. Teachers need to be more like you and learn from you. Blended business education, human-centered approach to learning. Thank you so much for joining us today. I encourage our viewers to check out LearnIt and tune in to the LearnIt podcast for insights. Until next time, my name is Robert Martellacci of the Mindshare Learning Report. Be sure to check out www.mindshare learning to get your latest issue. And until next time, stay healthy, stay safe.
Thanks.
keep the learning curve steep.